So today I'm going to make one of my favorite sauces to go over sliced beef or sliced pork, which is an emulsified garlic sauce. The major ingredient is garlic, typically anywhere from 30 to 40 cloves. It has thyme in it, red pepper flakes. It's simmered in the oven for a long time in olive oil. And then there are some things added at the end, some white wine and and a dash. I typically like myself a dash of Worcestershire sauce, but we'll add those later because those aren't really built for long simmering in the oven. So I'll show you how this goes. It really produces a beautiful result. It's unbelievably easy, and most of the time, most people will never have had anything like this because garlic is rarely used as an emulsifier, even though it's a fantastic natural emulsifier. Once we've broken up the garlic cloves, at that point, the easiest way to get rid of the skins is that old trick where you just use impact. I'm sure many of you have used this. Whenever you have to basically skin a whole bunch of garlic without doing too much else to it, this is really the best way to do it. So I'm just going to put them into this larger of the two metal tins, and then we'll just use impact by shaking it to knock them loose from their shells. And then you just let it rip. And when you're done, it's kind of amazing, really. What you'll see is that nearly all the garlic cloves will basically just look like this. They'll just look like they were peeled. And once they're peeled, I'm just throwing them into this this cast iron skillet here. This is actually pretty small. I believe this is just a 7-inch skillet here. So once you've got this done, the next step is just a little bit of thyme. I use about 3 or 4 sprigs because I like a fairly heavy taste of thyme, and I'm going to rinse this before I throw it into the pan. You can just kind of rough it up a little with your hands if you want, just to make sure that lots of the leaves separate. It's really not going to be a big deal because they will they'll cook for such a long time that everything will kind of fall off anyway. Then I'm putting in probably about, at most, a 1/4 teaspoon of red pepper flakes. I like it with a little bit of warmth, but my wife likes it a little on the mild side. I'm putting in a decent pinch of salt. I can always add more later. That's about a 1/4 teaspoon of kosher salt. Then I'm going to put in about a 1/2 cup of olive oil. And that, my friends, is it. That's now going to get cooked. It's going to go into a 350-degree oven for at least 45 minutes to an hour. I want it to get some good color on it. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, why don't you just bake the garlic, in a whole bulb of the whole head of garlic, just wrap it up and bake it. Actually, I think that produces a completely different result. Not as ideal for sauce making. Definitely a more uniform flavor, and I just don't think it's quite as nuanced as this. So here it is after about 40 minutes or so. And basically what you can see is that so a lot of color there, a really nice color, really pleasant. You don't want to see any browning. you want to see a sort of a tan color. That's what you really want to see. The house, of course, will smell fantastic. It's, of course, it's too warm for a confit, and it's not hot enough to really brown anything. So it's just that perfect temperature where it's going to turn that garlic into the most beautiful smell and taste. And we'll let it go for at least another 15 minutes or so. So we've got this absolutely beautiful garlic here. So all I've done here is I've taken the garlic and the olive oil. I've removed the sprigs of thyme, and then just there's a couple of the papery hulls of the garlic, and I've added about 1/8 of a teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce to it, and a 1/4 cup of dry white wine, and I've let that evaporate. That's it, though. Now I'm going to just let it cool for about 5 minutes, and that way I can run it through the immersion blender. Okay, so the next step here is all I'm going to do is put that in this thing that holds the immersion blender stuff. Not that much, of course. I'm going to add a nice squeezer of lemon juice. So acidity is pretty important in this, only because up to this point, all the ingredients are pretty savory. And at this point, we'll add a little bit of black pepper. And we'll blend it, but then we'll sort of see afterwards what we need in terms of salt. So let's have a taste. Oh my gosh. Holy Moses, that's good. Okay, it needs a little salt. I'm going to guess and say 1/4, maybe 1/8 of a teaspoon. Let's blend it again. See how we do. Now, as I blend that, I'm just slightly pulling the head in and out of the thing to incorporate some air and to make sure I'm getting everything blended. Let's have a look. So since I'm serving this without cooking it further and onto food that's already been cooked, this is one of the few times when I would use a fresh spoon to taste it. Otherwise, I wouldn't bother. Oh my God, that is so perfect. It's crazy. This is lemony, garlicky, creamy, smooth, savory. It's beautiful. This is really just going to be incredible. So then basically when I want to serve it, all I would do at that point would be to take something like this. There's people who sauce for a living will basically have a variety of different receptacles of these and sizes, they'll basically then fill it and they'll be able to dot the food or stream the sauce any way they want over the food. Probably use a smaller one for an amount like this. But anyway, I'll show you what it'll look like as when I add it to some meat.